Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and this is a video about the Virgo full moon lunar eclipse taking place on March 3rd, 2026 at 6:34 a.m. Eastern. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, definitely check a time zone converter for your local time. And yeah, this will be the Twin Flame Divine Counterpart Soulmate Collective update for this particular lunation. I am, ooh, like I said this at the start of the Lightworker Energy update. This is going to be one for the books, especially for those of you who are Twin Flames Divine Counterparts. Jupiter and Juno are speaking to this full moon lunar eclipse. So you definitely want to watch what I said for Jupiter and Juno in that Lightworker lunar update because I won't be repeating it here. But before I get into it all, welcome back. I want to let you know that if you've been wanting to get a reading with me, you've been waiting for me to reopen counterpart readings, the way to get those readings going forward in 2026, and the best way to do it is going to be through Star Club. Star Club 2.0 is relaunching. It is a community for astro lovers, and there are spots available for those who want to book in and get readings with their membership. Everyone doesn't have to, just if you want to. Now is the time to join. There are spots left for those reading memberships next Thursday and Friday. And the best part is you can do personal or relationship readings. It's all included at the same price. We have our first lunar circle this Saturday, so you can learn more about the energies surrounding this eclipse. And if you have questions about divine counterparts regarding this eclipse, I can answer them over there in a way that I won't be able to over here. We'll also do a little journal prompt or ritual work to help you direct the energy with intention in your life. So if you have questions about Star Club, I'm going to come live sometime in the next few days. Watch for that so that I can answer your questions. And I want you to know that everyone who joins before March 3rd is going to get access to my 2026 retrograde guide. 2026 is going to be a really pivotal year for divine counterparts. In 2026, we start a new energetic cycle. As I mentioned at the end of 2025, that was the halfway point between the last union window and the next one. This next union window opens to Libran energy, which is all about partnership, doing the dance of togetherness. The last one was all about partnership with self. It was in the sign of Aries. Now, 2026 opens the flow to preparation for the next union window. It is a year of breaking, rebuilding, and recalibration. And I break it down in my retrograde guide, what you need to focus on and when. There is a handy little map here or graph of the retrograde heavy parts of the year so that you know when things are going to be best for retrograde activities. It doesn't mean things have to stop, but it does mean we need to change the focus. And then I break down every single retrograde. We're in a Mercury retrograde now. I break down what this Mercury retrograde is about, what to focus on during this Mercury retrograde. There is a Venus retrograde coming. There is also Jupiter and Juno retrograde this year. We are in one of the first Jupiter retrogrades. There's a second Jupiter retrograde at the tail end of the year. Juno is going to be retrograde. And so I am encouraging you to join before March 3rd so you can get your hands on this guide. I break down the themes in love and partnership for those retrogrades. This is going to be really helpful for you if you have noticed that during Juno or Jupiter retrogrades, your connection takes a hit or gets impacted. I want you to come out of that pattern. Instead of retrogrades being a time of tumult inside of your connection, I want retrogrades to be more of a time of connection and review. When you join Star Club, you get access to that guide, and we're going to do a live middle of the year before all the retrograde heavy energy starts in Star Club, so I can walk you through how to do that. There are what was I going to say? There are three types of membership: stellium, full moon, and new moon. Full moon and new moon are the only ones that come with readings. Stellium gives you access to all of the different live events of Star Club, and there are so many different types. This will be really helpful if you know you really need to focus on yourself right now and not necessarily focus on your connection. We are going to be talking about connection related things as they come out at each new and full moon. But if you know you need to cultivate some grounding for yourself, Star Club is a fabulous way to do it. And in a Stellium membership, you can do that for $22 a month. I'm so excited we get started with our first lunar circle this Saturday, and I would really love for you to be a part of it. I know you are going to love it. All right, so let's talk about, link to join, by the way, is in the description box below. Let's talk about this Virgo full moon taking place on March 3rd. Here is our full moon energy. And this full moon, like I said, has communication with Jupiter and Juno, has communication with Lilith, and a stack of energies here inside of Pisces. We see Pallas, the Sun, Nessus, and Mercury, all a bundle of joy over here inside of this configuration. So there's tension in the sky. I'm not going to lie. There's some tension in the sky. There's rumination in the sky. There's also a lot of internal conflict that can manifest as external misunderstandings in the sky. I break down what all of that means, how to work with it, what to look for within yourself so that you can direct and guide the energy over in the Lightworker Lunar Update instead of getting pushed around by it. Because both Jupiter and Juno are speaking to this full moon lunar eclipse, it's going to be a significant one for twin flame soulmates and divine counterparts. So I highly recommend that Lightworker Lunar Update and also joining Star Club, since there's a lot more we're going to talk about in the love department with this eclipse. And it will be impactful for the next 90 days at those eclipse activation points that I pointed out in the Lightworker Energy Update. So definitely check that out. Let's hop into the nitty-gritty of this part two and talk about Juno inside of Capricorn. She is in finally a waning, very loose conjunction to Pholus. It is finally going away. Hooray! This is the conclusion of a period of energy that exposed divine feminine energies to a lot of compromise when working to create structure. Could you do it? Yes, but you would have needed to have been prepared for others' projections, problems, and roadblocks becoming your issues to deal with. Now that this energy is done, there's a lot of opportunity for forward movement for our divine feminine energetic fields without those challenges. And very shortly, we'll feel Pluto's pull to power in our divine feminine fields and a sense of ability to do and capacity to act. The last time we saw Juno talking to Pluto in conjunction was November of 2021 through February of 2022. That was the last time. Now that now at that time, there was also a conjunction with Pholus that preceded it as well. So I want you to think back to that time period. It was the beginning of a 2-year-long union window. What were you personally experiencing in your internal divine feminine energy? I want you to think about that first before you think about what was going on in the connection. What's the difference now than what's different now than then is that Pluto is in Aquarius. That's where Juno's headed, not Capricorn, which is where Pluto used to be. So the empowerment will come from collectives and communities and right use of technology, whereas the last time the empowerment came from structures and traditions, building and boundaries. How you work with this energy is going to be personal and more understandable in the context of your own chart, okay? Notice this, I'm giving you a living, breathing example of how I work with this energy, right? I have interior divine feminine energy and divine feminine leadership within me. She's moving toward Pluto. Pluto's power in signs of groups and collectives. Ergo, timing the launch of Star Club. Star Club is an online group, an online collective. There's power in numbers here for divine feminine energies. Okay. I want to reveal things like this to you in Star Club so that you understand how to synchronize your life with the energies so you're not just waiting and observing timing. Instead, you're acting with power with the energies. Okay. Now, semi-sextile, Jupiter is in a semi-sextile to Chariklo, Vesta, and Mars in Aquarius. And here those energies are Mars is in Pisces. This is going to generate an energy that pulls us into momentum. Those of you who are cyclists, you kind of know about drag. Like when you're riding right behind another cyclist, there's a sweet spot where the vortex of momentum behind them pulls your bicycle along so that you don't have to work as hard with your own muscles. This is sort of what this energy is. There's a pull toward momentum the closer Juno gets to Mars. And the more we honor that, the more blessing there is, the more we're able to commit and double down on what it is we're trying to work on. This is also going to help us have some dedication to complete our last chapters, as Pisces here is the final chapter of the zodiac as the last sign. There's also an energy here for humanitarianism and connection to others that when we tap into it, it can help us experience more expansion and growth. So whatever you're working on, whether it's a work-related project or a personal goal, doing it in community is going to be what generates growth and momentum. As Chariklo representing blessings and intercession, and Vesta representing dedication and faithful service are both in the sign of communities and groups. This is only enhanced by Mars in Pisces, which is a humanitarian aspect, and it connects us through compassion to all on the planet and generates motivation and courage to act on behalf of others. Consider this with any goal you're taking on at this time. It's going to be better done together rather than alone, especially with the Pholus aspect finally releasing. Okay. We also see Juno here, sextile, Nessus, Mercury, Mercury retrograde, Venus, Neptune, and Saturn conjunct. So this whole little party over here, the whole squad, they are influencing Juno's energy and tightening up her focus. Oh my gosh, this little cluster. So this is where we see an energy of rumination about past words spoken. Thank you, Mercury retrograde, and the sign of the subconscious mind, and the way they've impacted the structure of connection. Thank you, Juno, and the sign of structure. That's Capricorn. What worlds have our words built? We're currently living in that reality. When it comes to connection, this transit provides more than a little bit of a reality check. Now, it can feel heavy-handed. It can feel rude, like, how rude, universe. How dare you reflect my consciousness back to me so starkly? Oh my gosh. It can feel a little rough, but it's so that you become available for breakthrough by releasing what no longer serves. And breakthrough is indeed coming with the Pisces new moon. I covered that in first look inside of the Lightworker energy update. Okay, so if we were to go be more specific, what I want to tell you, Nessus is obsession. With Mercury, it's rumination. With Venus, it's attachment. Normally in Pisces, unconditional love. Unfortunately, with Nessus in the mix, it becomes attachment and just plain old desire. Neptune is loosening of bonds. Saturn is creating structural integrity. You put all these together in influence on Juno's divine feminine energy inside the sign of structure and boundaries. We have a lot of clarity about the ways our mind and words have created our world. And thank you, Saturn and Neptune, the opportunity to clean that up. Thank you, Nessus, the inability to let it go until we have cleaned it up. Okay. Another interpretation here for this configuration, speaking to Juno, is especially since Mercury will retrograde over the North Node. It's going to go over here, then come back here. It's going to pull something out of the South Node and into the present with its retrograde. And that is likely to be a someone or situation. Something is going to return here, especially given that Mercury will be in communication with Juno over the course of the retrograde. Okay. So I spoke about this in the Lightworker energy update, but just as a brief recap, Mercury governs Virgo. Virgo hosts the South Node. South Node connects us to the past. Mercury retrograding over the North Node is going to pull something out of the past into the present to be a part of our future. I did it in more detail in that Lightworker energy update, but that's the cliff notes. Okay. For some of you, this is going to be you righting wrongs of your own past. You recognize, yeah, I didn't need to say that. Or I didn't need to say that like that, because what I meant was actually this. And I see the way I said it was not the message that was heard, right? Message sent and message received, not always the same thing. And so Mercury retrograde is going to help you with what you need to do to clean that up, or somebody else to clean that up with you, this sort of thing. Okay. And still, another interpretation for this conjunction, speaking to Juno, is, like I said, needing to clear up those conversations, offer apologies, ask for clarification and connection where communication has been challenging. Because Juno is the one receiving access to this influence, and she's the one direct. Now, some of these are also speaking to Jupiter, but he's retrograde. You, my friend, may be the initiator in this communication, especially because Mars is also speaking to Juno. Mars is motivation and initiation. Mars is not speaking to Jupiter. You opening the door may be what gets the ball rolling, especially since the divine masculine energy is going through such deep internal process of growth and transformation. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Lastly, for connection where there is no communication, this is a transit of releasing and forgiveness. Things that have been hard or challenging to accept or face, words that have wounded or caused separation, whether from you or from them. This energy supports release and letting go so that a new beginning can happen in love. This will be especially true over the course of the full Mercury retrograde, and you'll see I speak about that in that retrograde guide, which you get when you join Star Club before March 3rd. If you find old material coming up from the past, things you thought you let go of, things you thought you were over and done with, if they were lurking in the subconscious, subtly influencing your thoughts and behaviors, it's going to be revealed to you at this time. And just as it's getting revealed to you, so too will those same types of things be revealed to your counterpart in connection. So for those in communication, my encouragement is that you may find that you need to take extra time to talk through certain things from the past. Turn off the phones, turn off the TV, sit down, look each other in the eye, and just talk and listen. And for a small few, this transit can be indicative of travel and movement toward a place you used to live in or always desired to go, travel overseas related to the connection. And for some, this can be travel related to health and for health reasons. Full moon in Virgo. Virgo is a sign that governs our health. Okay. Now let's talk about Juno squaring Chiron and Eris and Aries in Ceres. I mean, I don't know what, like, why can't Jupiter and Juno just stop talking to these two? Like, these two just love staying in the mix, this Chiron and Eris and Aries, and they will continue to this year. Healthy dose of ego correction. We gotta love it. This energy can be challenging in divine feminine energy fields as it brings a level of woundedness that can cause closure where connection is really what you need. Let me explain. Chiron and Eris in Aries don't necessarily bring out the best in each other. And squaring Juno, we get in touch with rejection, abandonment, and exclusion themes in particular in connection based on our identity, who we are, or how we operate. That's modus operandi, Capricorn and Virgo, identity and self, Aries. The square plus the addition of Ceres, who just joined the party. Why not? Pile on. This is closing of seasons and a change to the next one. Thank you, Ceres. This is the one that will cause us to want to create endings and closure. You may feel it's out of self-protection. You may feel there is no other way forward. You may feel closings and endings are the only option. But what's underpinning this is a reflection of where we have self-abandoned, self-excluded, and self-rejected in connection. And what this calls for is deeper connection with the self, way more than taking any action with another person. So where you can, this is a really good time to focus less on the connection and what the other person's doing and more on yourself. If you're feeling any of the activating feelings that I've just mentioned, because this is a call to evolve the connection into its next chapter where you are more included, more accepted, more secure, because you've generated inclusion, acceptance, and security within yourself first. This is a great time for attachment style work if you've known you've needed to do it, given everything else going on in the sky, to work on becoming more secure. All right, let's talk about Juno trine Uranus. I'm going to go in detail about that for the collective, but for right now, just for divine counterparts, surprise, surprise, surprise! This energy here can generate unexpected things happening in connection. Things can change out of nowhere in a positive way with this aspect. And it can happen just through one conversation, given that Mercury retrograde is also speaking to Juno and Uranus through positive aspect. This is where an apology can become a proposal. A chance reconnection can become a deeply spiritual and passionate bond. A long-term friendship can suddenly turn into more, and a person can change their entire outlook on the connection seemingly overnight. This energy supports connections to take a quantum leap. Thank you, Uranus. We love a good quantum leap over here in the third dimension. Both Juno and Uranus are in third dimensional earth signs. To quantum leap to go to the next level, whether that next level looks like to you and your counterpart is going to be personal to your connection. whether that's buying property, moving in together, getting engaged or married, having kids, having a breakthrough in an arena of money or health together. All sorts of miracles can show up in connections in this energy. So it's really important to be available for miracles. Again, the starting point of that is typically always in the mind. What are you telling yourself? What are the stories you're living? Do you have energy, capacity for miracles? Do you believe in miracles? Do you believe miracles can happen to you, not just other people? And use all of that Piscean energy for releasing the past if rumination has come up. Okay. We also see very loose opposition between Jupiter and Juno here in the chart. And here is the energy of both masculine and feminine energies working on different projects in present time, and not just different projects, but opposite projects. And you may feel this in your own internal divine masculine and divine feminine energy just as much as the outer world reflects it back to you. She's working on external structure and the third dimension, and boundaries and grounding. He's working on interior transformation and growth, regenerating family dynamics, creating harmony in internal family systems, dealing with housing and home issues, and releasing past emotional baggage. Opposite energies, opposite journeys. They can be happening in the same body, believe it. They can be happening in the same connection, whether you identify in separation or union. This opposition creates connection as opposed to no connection with the inconjunct aspect. It's just not the most harmonious connection, as needs can be opposite, desires, wants, focus can be opposite, actions and directions are in opposition to one another. So to work with this, extra compassion, taking extra time to communicate, having extra curiosity about things that you don't understand, don't assume understanding, explain it. Extra time in, or extra flexibility, moving slower so that you can move together can really help sustain growth and forward movement at this time. Okay, slowing down. So yeah, if you'd like to get one of the spots for reading in Star Club so we can look at your connection, now's the time to book it, especially if things have been rocky. I've been hearing from a lot of my divine counterparts that it's just been confusing. It's been rocky internally and externally for people. And it doesn't have to be, because while 30-minute relationship readings are 188 through the website, they're 111 in Star Club as a full moon member. So if you know you've got relationship tension unfolding, and it gets more intense as Juno steps into shadow for her retrograde this year on March 14th, that's like literally right around the corner, then getting in Star Club now will help you navigate this with minimal hiccups, minimal drama. If you need to, I recommend pausing this video, clicking the link below to get your membership, and then coming back to break the habit of watching energy instead of acting on it. This next union window, it does require participation, not waiting for somebody else to do it for you or figure it out. All right, let's go ahead and look at Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. We see that this is going to be sextile this full moon solar eclipse in Virgo. Okay. So again, everything I said about Jupiter and the divine masculine energy fields and how this eclipse will in fact impact divine masculine energy, I said it when I covered Jupiter and sextile to the full moon lunar eclipse and the Lightworker energy update. Won't repeat that here, other than to say this eclipse will be significant for both counterparts for some time to come, because they are both directly speaking to the moon at the time of the eclipse. Let's talk about Jupiter. It was her turn, now it's his turn in opposition to Pholus. This opens up some of the same energy the divine feminine was subject to the last 4 weeks with a conjunction to Pholus. Now he's opposite Pholus, and he's getting his dose of this. A lot of this, I want to be really clear, with Juno and Jupiter in particular, speaking to Pholus, a lot of this is an invitation to mind your business. And I don't mean creating separation. I mean, where you in your divine masculine or divine feminine energy have become the go-to person in your life, the go-to beacon, the go-to grounding cord, the go-to connection to cosmic energy for intuition and insight, the go-to resource, the go-to savior, where you have become that in your world, you are now seeing the consequences of being too available to other people with these connections to Pholus, being in the wrong time, the wrong place, and subject to other people's issues. Separating yourself from other people's issues in this energy isn't about not caring. It's about leaving space for their sovereignty for self-rescue. Where divine feminine and divine masculine have become objects of codependency, because you are light workers, because you are love channelers, where you have become the object of codependency in your family or friend systems, in your school group, in your community, these energies, Pholus in particular, talking to divine masculine and divine feminine over these previously divine feminine, now divine masculine. This Pholus communication is trying to help you see that you cannot save people who are insisting on drowning, especially in they're drowning in like 3 feet of water. Like, just stand up. Like, you can do it. Like, I can do it. Like, we all have our own stuff we have to deal with. Like, stand up. This energy in divine masculine energy fields in particular is trying to restructure where we have let ourselves become too malleable, in particular to other people's emotional drama. This is family emotional drama. This is mama drama. Cancer represents mothers. This is workplace drama. Capricorn represents the workplace, right? So where you have just become the lightning rod is, I guess, the phrase I can say. I had to take a minute to think of, like, what's the analogy here? That everyone else grounds their lightning through, you're going to see that at this time in your divine masculine energy, that has consequences. So, back to what I was originally saying, the invitation here is to learn how to learn when it's appropriate to mind your business. Let other people come to their own rescue, because when you stop rescuing them, they will eventually learn that in 3 feet of water, they can stand up themselves. Okay? Or they'll learn how to tread if it's deeper, or float, right? You don't have to be everyone's savior. All right? All right. So another way to really see this is this energy of pushing to create structures, creating unintended consequences. That's what it was, Juno, for with Pholus in the divine feminine energy feels like, oh, I'm going to create some structure here. Marry me or get out of my life. You know, this sort of thing. That can have unintended consequences and really backfire. Because we're now talking about Jupiter in Cancer, this is likely to come from a place of needing the external structure to make up for internal emotional insecurity and instability. That said, if you know this has already created some misunderstandings or led to less security instead of more, You can use Mercury retrograde to forgive and release, clear up those communications to find your way back into harmony. The trick to working around this energy is to not force or coerce, and to also focus on the internal work more than the external world. This will ultimately lay the foundation for the outer world to follow the inner world in the fullness of time. But it is going to reveal the truth as well. Where we've been trying to get the outer world to perform something the inner world has no foundation for, this is where that will cause collapse in the exterior world. The exterior world, the shape of the connection, cannot outperform inner world incoherence. Okay, so you want to feel secure in the connection. You got to feel secure connecting with yourself first, right? Thank goodness Mercury retrograde gives us all some time to work through this. And that cluster at the tail end of Pisces, so revealing. Oh my goodness. Going to give us so much information about ourselves. That's going to be really helpful. Okay, now let's talk about Jupiter trining Pallas and the Sun. This is self-protection in a really balanced, really beautiful way. Okay. You may find you have an intuitive sense of which connections and emotional situations are going to be healthy to engage in or healthy to divulge personal information in, and which ones are not. Trust that intuition. Pallas speaking to Jupiter. While Jupiter is retrograde and doing some deeper internal work, is giving us the intuitive nudges we need for where we need to hold better boundaries spiritually and emotionally with certain people in our lives, especially if they've outsourced emotional security to us and have none of their own. I'm not talking about co-regulation, I'm talking about codependency. Not to pick on anyone, but Jupiter and Pallas are both feminine signs, inside of feminine signs. Pisces a feminine sign, Cancer is a feminine sign. In particular, Cancer deals with female authority figures and mothers. So if you felt like it's time to recreate your relationship with feminine entities in your life, this is the time to do it. Okay. We also see a trine to Nessus and Mercury retrograde there at the 20th degrees of Pisces. So both Juno and Jupiter are speaking to Mercury retrograde and Jupiter's energy. And from the trine perspective, there's so many different ways I can interpret this. I want to give you each one. Number one, deep reflection or deep denial. Which one is going to depend on how you use it and how aware you are of your own internal programming. Some can do major running in this energy through denial of emotions that come with such a deep bond and repression. Some will feel the same intense emotions and is going to generate a pause for deep reflection. How you work with this energy will be a matter of intention or habit. It's going to be up to you. Next interpretation for Jupiter retrograde, trine Mercury retrograde, and Nessus there in Pisces. Massive downloads about the connection, intuitive hits and insights, and not just this connection, but all of the connections in your life, especially family dynamics. Both Mercury and Jupiter retrograde and in harmony are expanding thoughts. But in water signs, these are less about thoughts and more about reflections and observations of an emotional nature, intuitive hits, and putting together emotional experiences for cognitive clarity. This can be so helpful if the connection has been confusing or overwhelming. Trust the quiet intuitions that come through now. In the quiet of this energy, quantum leaps can be made. So if you need to take some time to reflect and process, whether with a counterpart, with a therapist, on your own, with a trusted mentor or guide, asking for that time to reflect is a great idea. Next interpretation for the same energy. This is also going to include major revelation about your subconscious patterns when it comes to how emotions are handled and the ability to turn some of these around if they aren't helpful to you. This is where we can get the cosmic aha about why certain things have happened in connections the way that they have. It's because we've been running certain emotional programs. Change the program, change what renders on the screen. It's that simple. But sometimes we do really have to comb through the code line by line and dig through archived code to understand how we arrived at the current version of reality. This is the transit where that becomes possible, and I love this for us. Heavier emotional weight coming from the collective is also an interpretation here, the final interpretation for this. Feeling extremely receptive and susceptible to collective emotions and ups and downs. This can be an energy that can feel a little bit emotionally heavy for no reason. It's because you're plugged into the collective, and some good spiritual boundaries and spiritual cleansing will really help. Okay. Jupiter is also in a loose square to Chiron and Eris in Aries, who have been joined by Ceres here. This will do much of the same in the divine masculine fields as it's been doing in the divine feminine field, since they are both square to this energy. This is an energy that's creating a lot of tension to close out non-working actions and behaviors. That's Aries. Based on stories about rejection, exclusion, and abandonment. That's Chiron and Eris. The first abandonment is always us abandoning us. In the divine feminine fields, this is about using external structure to make up for insecurities. In the divine masculine fields, this is about inner world manipulation to make up for the same insecurities. So, how that can look? That can be either disconnecting and shutting down due to insecurity and trying to minimize emotional strain on the system. Alternatively, it can look like clinging to and demanding structure for the same reason. One is trying to change the inside. That's the Jupiter energy. One is so that they can feel better. One is trying to change the outside so they can feel better. That's the Juno energy. Both are doing it for the same reasons. Having a deep sense of personal insecurity, dealing with a sense of rejection, fixating on where we felt abandoned or left out. For those identifying in some format of union, this is where you'll find old wounds and triggers can come up for far more intimate communication and to share with one another how you're growing and what support feels best at this time. While challenging, the more you feel, the more you need to reveal. The more we reveal, the more we heal. Okay? So that's what I have there. Gentle reminder, there are no restrictions on relationship readings in Star Club as a new moon or full moon member. So if you're in need of some support in the connection department and want to know what's happening, where it's headed, how to stay in alignment and open, especially before we get to Juno's retrograde pre-shadow, which opens on March 14th, now is the time to get into Star Club. Especially if you've been looking for a window for reconciliation and reconnection and connection, this Juno retrograde will be one of the best times for it this year. And we can talk all about it when we look at your chart as a new moon or full moon member. And again, relationship readings are as much as 40% off when you join that way. And I did that intentionally. I want to be able to work with more of you. I know more of you need support this year, not less. Okay. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, for joining Star Club. I can't wait to see you there. And this is where I love you and leave you with so much love. Bye for now.